Story 1. I had been going to my son's football games since he started playing in middle school. Back then, he was this skinny kid who loved the sport, but was not particularly good at it. He stuck with it though, practicing every day, working with trainers in the off-season, watching film until late at night. By the time he got to high school, he had grown into it. He made varsity as a sophomore, which was rare at our school. Now he was a senior, one of the team captains, and one of the starting linebackers. I could not have been more proud. This was his last season, and it meant everything to him. He had dreams of playing college ball, and coaches from smaller schools had started showing up to games to scout the senior players. Every game mattered. Every play could be the one that caught someone's eye. So I showed up to every single game, sat in the same section, and cheered until my voice was hoarse. Tonight's game was against one of our biggest rivals. The stands were packed, the energy was high, and my husband and I had gotten there early to get decent seats. We were sitting near the middle of the bleachers when a couple sat down directly in front of us. I did not pay much attention to them at first, just another set of parents there to watch their kid play. A few minutes before kickoff, the woman turned around and looked at us. "Mom, which player is yours?" "Me, number 42. He's one of the linebackers." She looked at her husband, then back at me. "Mom, your son should sit out the rest of the season and give my son a chance to play linebacker. He's a freshman, and he deserves playing time. The three linebackers right now are a senior, a junior, and a sophomore. Your son should step aside." I blinked at her, not sure if I had heard that correctly. "Me, that's up to the coach. He decides who plays based on skill and performance. And honestly, I don't see him benching my son when college scouts are coming to watch the seniors." "Mom, well, that's not fair to the younger players." "Me, what number is your son?" The husband jumped in before she could answer. "Dad, number 18. I nodded and turned back to face the field, hoping that would be the end of it. But then another parent sitting near us leaned over. "Other parent, I don't think they know what happened to their son." I gave him a confused look, but he just shook his head and turned back to the game. I had no idea what he meant. The game started, and I focused on watching my son. He was playing well, making tackles, reading the offense. Everything he had worked for was showing. I was so locked in on the game that I did not notice the woman in front of me had gotten up until I heard yelling from down near the field. I looked over and saw her at the edge of the fence, screaming at the head coach. Parents around me were standing up to see what was happening. I could hear bits and pieces of what she was saying. "Mom, put my son in. He deserves to play. You're keeping him on the bench for no reason." The coach tried to wave her off, clearly focused on the game, but she would not stop. Eventually, two security officers who were stationed at the game for crowd control walked over and escorted her back toward the stands. She was furious, yelling the whole way. When she got back to her seat, I could not help myself. "Me, did your little talk with the coach not work?" She whipped around and glared at me. "Mom, fuck off, bitch." Her husband grabbed her arm and tried to get her to sit down, but she was still looking around, scanning the field. Then her face changed. She went pale. She had finally noticed her son sitting on the bench with the athletic director next to him. He was not in his gear. He was in sweats with an ice pack on his leg, just watching the game. She ran back down toward the restricted area, stopping just before the security line, and started waving at the athletic director. He walked over and they talked for a minute. I could not hear what was being said, but I saw her body language shift from angry to shocked. When she came back, she looked like someone had punched her in the stomach. She sat down hard and stared straight ahead. I leaned forward. "Me, I hope he has a speedy recovery." She did not say anything. She just raised both middle fingers at me without turning around. Her husband muttered something to her, and she finally sat still for the rest of the game, but I could tell she was seething. After the game ended, my son came over to where we were waiting by the fence. He was sweaty and exhausted but grinning. They had won 20-17. "Me, great game, honey. You played amazing. Son, thanks. Mom, did you see that lady yelling at Coach earlier? Me, yeah, what was that about? Son, her kid is number 18. He pulled his hamstring in the first quarter. He's done for the season. She showed up late and didn't even know he was hurt. I looked back at where the couple had been sitting. They were gone. Me, she wanted you to sit out so her son could play linebacker. Son, he plays defensive end. He's not even a linebacker. My husband laughed. Husband? Of course he does. We walked back to the car, and I thought about that woman. She had shown up late, missed her own son getting injured, screamed at the coach, insulted me, and then found out her kid was out for the rest of the season, all because she assumed her son deserved something he had not earned. I felt bad for the kid, not for her, but for him. He was probably embarrassed. He was definitely hurt, and his mom had just made a scene that everyone would remember. My son had 3 more games left in his regular season, 3 more chances to impress scouts, 3 more opportunities to prove he belonged on that field, and he had earned every single one of them. Story 2. I've been a patrol officer for the city police department for about 6 years now. I joined the force when I was 25, right after finishing my criminal justice degree. It wasn't an easy decision. My parents wanted me to go to law school, but I wanted to do something more hands-on, something where I could actually help people in real time, rather than pushing papers in an office. The academy was tough. 6 months of physical training, legal education, scenario practice, and psychological evaluation. But I made it through, and I've been working the downtown beat ever since. My partner and I usually work the day shift, which means we deal with a lot of traffic incidents, minor disputes, and the occasional shoplifter. It's not as dramatic as what you see on television, but it keeps me busy. I'm 31 now, married for 3 years, and my wife just found out she's pregnant with our first kid. I've been thinking a lot lately about the risks that come with this job, but I still believe in what I do. Most days are routine. You respond to calls, you help people, you write reports, you go home. But every once in a while, you get a call that reminds you just how unpredictable people can be. This particular Thursday afternoon, my partner and I were finishing up lunch at a sandwich shop downtown when the call came through on our radio. Dispatch, all units, we have reports of a vehicle blocking traffic at the intersection of 5th and Main. Multiple callers reporting erratic behavior from the driver. My partner looked at me. Partner, that's 2 blocks from here. Me, let's go. We got in our patrol car and drove toward the intersection. Even before we arrived, we could see the backup of cars. 5th and Main is one of the busiest intersections in the downtown area, 4 lanes in each direction with heavy traffic during business hours. And right in the middle of it all was a silver SUV, completely stopped, blocking the northbound lanes. We pulled up with our lights on and got out of the car. That's when I saw her. A woman, probably in her late 40s, standing outside her vehicle in the middle of the intersection. She was waving her arms wildly at the cars around her, shouting at drivers. Her. No, you go that way. You need to wait. I said wait. Cars were honking. Some drivers were trying to navigate around her vehicle. The whole intersection was complete chaos. I approached carefully. Me, ma'am, I need you to get back in your vehicle. Her. Not until these people learn how to drive properly. Me, you're blocking traffic. You need to move your car. Her. I'm not moving anything. I don't like how people drive here. Everyone is too aggressive. Someone needs to take control. My partner moved to direct traffic around her vehicle, while I dealt with her directly. Me, ma'am, you can't stop in the middle of an intersection like this. You're creating a dangerous situation. Her. I'm making it safer. Look at all these people. They don't know what they're doing. She turned and started waving at a car that was trying to pass. Her. You. Stop right there. You can't go yet. The driver looked confused and kept moving. She actually stepped toward the car like she was going to block it physically. Me, ma'am, step back onto the sidewalk right now. Her. I will not. I'm directing traffic. This is my job now. Me? No, it's not. You need to move your vehicle immediately, or I'm going to have to cite you for obstruction. Her, you can't cite me. I'm helping. Partner, we've got more backup coming. Want me to try to move her vehicle? Me, keys still in it. Partner, yeah, she left it running. Me, go ahead. My partner walked toward her SUV. She saw him and ran over. Her, don't you touch my car. Me, ma'am, your vehicle is blocking a major intersection. We need to move it. Her, I'll move it when I'm ready. Right now, I'm fixing this disaster of an intersection. More cars were honking now. I could see people getting out of their vehicles to see what was happening. This was escalating quickly. Me, last warning. Get in your vehicle and move it now, or you're going to be arrested for obstruction and disorderly conduct. Her, arrested? By you? I don't think so. Me, I'm a police officer. I have the authority to arrest you if you continue breaking the law. Her, you can't arrest your boss. I paused, genuinely confused. Me, excuse me? Her, I'm your boss. I pay taxes. That makes you my employee. And I'm telling you to leave me alone so I can fix this traffic problem. Me, that's not how any of this works. Her, yes, it is. Taxpayers are in charge. You work for me. My partner had managed to get her vehicle moved to the side of the road. He walked back over. Partner, vehicle is clear. Intersection is opening back up. Her, you moved my car without permission. That's theft. Me, it's not theft. You were blocking traffic. Her, I was directing traffic. Me, you were creating a hazard. I need to see your license and registration. Her, I'm not showing you anything. You're fired. I pulled out my notebook to start writing the citation. She needed to be charged with at least obstruction and reckless endangerment at this point. Me, what's your name? Her, none of your business. Me, I need your name for the citation. Her, I already told you, I'm your boss. You don't cite your boss. I started writing based on her license plate information, which I could run through our system. As I was writing, she suddenly reached out and slapped the notebook out of my hand. It hit the ground and pages scattered. That was assault on an officer. Me, that's it. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. Her, what? No. Me, you just assaulted a police officer. You're under arrest. Her, I barely touched you. I pulled out my handcuffs. My partner moved in to assist. Partner, hands behind your back, now. Her, this is insane. You can't arrest me. Me, you've obstructed traffic, created a public hazard, refused lawful orders, and assaulted an officer. Yes, I can. She tried to pull away, but my partner grabbed her arm and we got the handcuffs on her. Her, this is illegal. I'm a taxpayer. Me, you have the right to remain silent. Her, I will not be silent. You work for me. Me, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Her, I'm going to have both of your badges. Partner, you have the right to an attorney. Her, I know people, important people. We walked her to our patrol car. The backup units had arrived and were helping clear the intersection completely. Traffic was finally starting to flow normally again. Her, you can't arrest your boss. This is mutiny. We got her into the back of the patrol car. She continued yelling the entire ride to the station. Her, I pay your salary. You're supposed to listen to me. Me, actually, you're supposed to follow traffic laws like everyone else. Her, this is discrimination. Partner, against what? People who stop in intersections? Her, against citizens who try to help. We processed her at the station. She was charged with obstruction of traffic, disorderly conduct, reckless endangerment, resisting arrest, and assault on a police officer. Her bail was set at $5,000. The whole time she was being fingerprinted and photographed, she kept insisting she was our boss and that we were all going to be fired. The desk sergeant just nodded politely and continued the paperwork. 2 weeks later, I had to testify in court. She represented herself, which was a terrible idea. She spent most of her time arguing that taxpayers have the authority to direct traffic whenever they feel it's necessary. The judge was not impressed. She was convicted on all charges, fined $3,000, lost her license for 6 months, and was sentenced to 40 hours of community service. She tried to argue one more time that the judge worked for her too. He added another 10 hours of community service. My partner and I still laugh about it sometimes. The woman who thought paying taxes made her everyone's boss. We've dealt with a lot of entitled people over the years, but she definitely made the top of the list. Some people really do think the rules don't apply to them. Story 3. I've been working as a gate agent for Southwest Airlines for about 8 years now. I started this job right after I finished my associate degree in hospitality management. The plan was to work here for a year or two while I figured out what I really wanted to do with my life. But honestly, the benefits are good, and I've gotten used to the routine. Free flights for me and my family, decent pay, and I've made some solid friendships with my coworkers over the years. The job has its challenges, obviously. Dealing with delays, cancellations, overbooked flights, lost luggage complaints. But the hardest part is managing passenger expectations, especially when people miss their flights. We have very clear boarding procedures. We start boarding 30 minutes before departure, and we close the door 10 minutes before the scheduled takeoff time. This isn't arbitrary. It's Federal Aviation Administration regulation. The plane has to push back on time, and we need those 10 minutes to get everyone settled, do safety checks, and prepare for departure. I'm 34 now, single, living in a small apartment near the airport. My life isn't glamorous, but it's stable. I work mostly morning and afternoon shifts, which means I'm home in the evenings to video call with my nieces and nephews across the country. The flight benefits mean I can visit my family in Ohio a few times a year without breaking the bank. This particular incident happened on a Tuesday afternoon. I was working Gate B7, a flight to Denver scheduled to depart at 3:15. Boarding started at 2:45 like clockwork. We boarded our priority passengers first, then general boarding. Everything was going smoothly. By 3:05, everyone was on the plane, and we were doing our final head count. At 3:06, I made the announcement. This is the final boarding call for Flight 2734 to Denver. All passengers should be on board at this time. We will be closing the door momentarily. I always give this announcement to give any stragglers one last chance. Usually, if someone is cutting it close, they come running when they hear final boarding call. At 3:07, I closed the door to the jet bridge and called down to the gate podium to confirm we were ready for pushback. That's when I heard shouting from the terminal. Wait, I'm here. I looked up to see a woman sprinting toward the gate, pulling a large rolling suitcase behind her. She was wearing heels and business attire, clearly coming from somewhere in the airport. I'm sorry, ma'am, but we've already closed boarding for this flight. What? No, I'm here now. The door closed at 3:07. The flight is scheduled to depart in 8 minutes. So open it back up. I can't do that. Boarding is closed. I can help you get on the next available flight to Denver. This is ridiculous. The plane is still here. Yes, but Federal Aviation Administration regulations require us to close boarding 10 minutes before departure. I don't care about your regulations. I need to be on this flight. I understand your frustration, but the next flight to Denver leaves in 2 hours. I can get you on that one. 2 hours? Absolutely not. Open that door right now. I'm not able to do that. Before I could stop her, she pushed past me and ran to the jet bridge door. She grabbed the handle and tried to pull it open. It was locked from my side. Open this door. Ma'am, you need to step away from the door. This plane leaves when I arrive. She started pounding on the door. I picked up my radio to call for assistance. Gate B7, I need a supervisor and saw to the gate immediately. You can't do this to me. I have a meeting in Denver. I'm sorry, but you'll need to take the next flight. She spread both her arms wide and pressed herself against the jet bridge door like she was trying to physically hold it closed. Nobody is going anywhere until I'm on that plane. Ma'am, you're going to need to move away from the door. Make me. 2 SA officers arrived within a minute, along with my supervisor. SA Officer 1, ma'am, you need to step away from the door. Not until I get on my flight. SA Officer 2, you've missed boarding. You need to move so the flight can depart. I'm not moving. Supervisor, ma'am, if you don't step away voluntarily, these officers will have to remove you. Go ahead and try. The SA officers approached her carefully. That's when she let go of the door, grabbed an empty luggage cart that was sitting nearby, and pushed it toward them like a battering ram. JA Officer 1, ma'am, put down the cart. Stay back. She rammed the cart forward again. The officers dodged to the side. SA Officer 2, that's enough. You're under arrest. You can't arrest me. I have sky rights. SA Officer 1, there's no such thing as sky rights. The sky belongs to everyone. This is a public space. The officers moved in quickly. One grabbed the luggage cart and pulled it away, while the other took hold of her arm. She tried to twist away, but he held firm. Get your hands off me. SA Officer 2, you're being detained for interfering with airport operations and assaulting federal officers. I didn't assault anyone. SA Officer 1, you used that cart as a weapon. He pulled out handcuffs and secured her wrists behind her back while she continued to scream. This is illegal. I'm a paying customer. SA Officer 2, you're disrupting airport operations. You have the right to remain silent. I will not be silent. This is tyranny. They started walking her away from the gate. She dug her heels into the ground, trying to resist. You're all going to be sued. I know people, important people. Other passengers waiting at nearby gates were recording the whole thing on their phones. Some were laughing, others looked shocked. SA Officer 1, keep walking. I demand to speak to the airport director. SA Officer 2, you can make that request at the security office. The FA is going to hear about this. The FA is exactly who made the rules you're breaking. She glared at me as they escorted her past. This isn't over. My supervisor waited until they were out of sight, then turned to me. Supervisor, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. That was intense. Supervisor, I'll handle the paperwork. You just focus on getting your next flight boarded. Thanks. I called down to the plane to let them know they were clear for departure. The jet bridge door opened and the ground crew disconnected everything. The plane pushed back at 3:17, only 2 minutes late despite everything. I helped the woman's luggage get pulled from the flight since she obviously wasn't on board anymore. Then I started preparing for my next departure. About an hour later, my supervisor came back. Supervisor, just heard from TSA. She's being charged with interfering with airport operations, assaulting federal officers, and disorderly conduct. How much is she looking at? Supervisor, probably a hefty fine and a ban from flying. Maybe some jail time depending on how the court sees it. All because she was 7 minutes late. Supervisor, some people just can't accept that rules apply to them too. The story spread through the airport pretty quickly. For weeks afterward, my coworkers would joke about sky rights whenever someone tried to board late. I looked up the case a few months later out of curiosity. She had been fined $15,000 and banned from flying on any commercial airline for 2 years. That meeting in Denver must have been really important. Story 4. I had been renting the little house for almost 2 years when the new neighbors moved in. Before them, it had been a quiet retired couple who kept to themselves and grew tomatoes in their backyard. Perfect neighbors for someone like me who worked from home and valued peace and quiet. I was a customer service representative for a tech company, which meant I spent 8 hours a day on video calls, helping people troubleshoot their internet problems. I needed a calm environment to focus, and for the most part, I had it. The new family seemed fine at first. A dad, a mom who I rarely saw, and a kid who looked about 10 years old. The first week they moved in, everything was normal. I heard the usual sounds of people settling into a new place. Furniture being moved, boxes being unpacked, nothing disruptive. Then the soccer started. At first, it was just occasional. I would be working at my desk and hear a thud against the fence. No big deal. Kids play. I got it. The first time the ball came over into my yard, I grabbed it and tossed it back over the fence. Easy. The kid yelled thanks, and that was that. But then it became a daily thing. Then multiple times a day. I would be in the middle of a call with a customer and hear that thud. Sometimes the ball would roll across my yard and sit there. Sometimes it would hit my patio furniture. Once it knocked over a potted plant. I started to get annoyed, but I tried to be understanding. I remembered being a kid. I remembered playing outside and accidentally breaking things or losing balls in neighbors' yards. So I kept tossing it back, even when it interrupted my work. Then one morning, I was jolted awake at 7:45 by a loud bang against my fence. The soccer ball had come flying over and hit the side of my house. I looked out the window and saw the kid already kicking another ball around, like this was just part of his routine. That is when I decided I was not going to throw the ball back immediately anymore. Maybe if it took longer to get his ball back, the kid would learn to be more careful. Maybe he would practice better aim or play in a different part of his yard. Apparently, that was a mistake. The first time I did not throw the ball back right away. There was a knock at my door about 10 minutes later. I opened it, and there was the dad, standing on my porch with his arms crossed. "Dad, can you throw the ball back?" Not hello. Not sorry about that. Just a demand. Me, oh, yeah, sure. I grabbed the ball from my yard and handed it to him. He took it without saying thank you and walked away. This became the new pattern. Ball comes over, I ignore it for a bit. Dad shows up at my door acting like I owed him something. Every single time, he had the same attitude. Like I was the problem. Like it was my responsibility to immediately return his kid's ball every time it invaded my space. I started keeping the balls longer just out of spite. If he was going to be rude about it, I was not going to drop everything to accommodate him. Last weekend, I was finally getting around to doing some gardening. I had been putting it off for weeks because of work, and I wanted to replant some flowers that had died over the winter. I was kneeling in the dirt, hands covered in soil, when I heard the familiar sound of the ball hitting my fence. This time, it did not just hit the fence. It came flying over and smacked directly into one of my potted plants, knocking it over. Dirt spilled everywhere. I stood up, brushed off my hands, and looked at the ball sitting in the middle of my destroyed plant. I was done. I picked up the pot, set it back upright, and left the ball where it was. A few minutes later, I heard yelling from the other side of the fence. "Dad, hey, throw the ball back." I ignored him and kept working on my garden. "Dad, I know you're out there. Throw it back." I still did not respond. I could hear him getting louder, more agitated. Then he appeared at the fence line, standing on something so he could see over into my yard. "Dad, you can't just keep my kid's property. That's stealing." I stood up and walked over to the fence. "Me, then keep your kid's property out of my yard." His face turned bright red. I had never seen someone go from annoyed to furious so fast. "Dad, are you serious right now? It's a kid's ball. You're being a terrible neighbor. You're unfriendly to children." "Me, I work from home. Your kid kicks that ball over here multiple times a day. It interrupts my work. It's hit my stuff. And you've never once apologized." "Dad, it's a ball. Just throw it back. That's what normal people do." "Me, normal people teach their kids to be more careful." "Dad, I'm calling the police. You're stealing from a child." "Me, go ahead. I'll show them the 5 other times this week your kid's ball has come into my yard. I'll also mention the plant it just destroyed." He stared at me for a second, then muttered something under his breath about respect and stormed off. I went back to my gardening. The ball stayed in my yard. Since then, I have collected 2 soccer balls total. They are sitting by my shed. The dad has not come to my door again, but I can feel the tension every time I see him outside. He glares at me like I am the villain in this situation. Yesterday, another ball came over. I looked at it, looked at my dog who was lying in the sun, and thought about just letting her have it. She loves chew toys. I have not decided yet, but if one more ball comes flying into my yard and hits something, that decision is going to be made for me.